Imagine a world, and I mean this, where cybersecurity isn't like this constant weight on your shoulders.
Right.
Where everything, even like the smallest devices, are actually safe from those, pesky hackers. And get this. The solution isn't some crazy complex system that only like tech geniuses understand.
Yeah.
It's actually elegant, kind of like, dare I say, simple.
Interesting.
That's the whole idea behind AKM, this kind of revolutionary new approach to cybersecurity. And today, we're really going deep, real deep dive to see if AKM actually lives up to all this hype.
Yeah.
We've got a really interesting mix of stuff to dig into today, right? Like a company pitch laying out this grand vision for AKM.
Right.
And then we've got this thought-provoking piece from Medium, that really digs into like the technical nitty-gritty.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we even get into the nuts and bolts of AKM, I think it's important to kind of step back.
Sure.
And really talk about like, why do we even need this new approach to cybersecurity, right?
Well, what's really interesting here is that this isn't some like far-off threat,
Right.
The cybersecurity landscape, especially the system most people rely on today, public key infrastructure, or PKI, is already showing some real cracks.
Okay.
So think of PKI like a massive web of digital certificates, right?
Okay.
And every time you're like logging onto your bank or you're sending a secure email, certificates are being exchanged behind the scenes.
Right.
Just to verify identities and protect your data.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good in theory, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. But I'm guessing there's a but coming here.
Oh, absolutely, there's a but coming.
Yeah.
The problem is PKI, it's clunky, it's complex, and it relies heavily on us, on humans, to not mess it up.
Right.
And let's be honest, humans, we're not exactly known for our flawless track record when it comes to technology.
True.
In fact, that IE paper you shared,
Yeah.
the one that kind of highlighted the sheer scale of cybersecurity incidents,
Yeah.
it points out that a staggering, and this is amazing, 88 to 95% of security breaches are linked to, you guessed it, human error.
Oh, wow.
Misconfigured settings, expired certificates, you name it, the kind of stuff that makes security experts want to pull their hair out.
Right. So it's not just like, masterminds in dark rooms trying to steal our data.
Sometimes it's way simpler than that. It's the simplest things that trip us up.
Oh, wow.
And the scary part is this isn't just your average data breach.
Right.
We're talking critical infrastructure, energy grids, water treatment plants, transportation systems. These things are all interconnected, right?
Yeah.
So a vulnerability in one can cascade and create like massive chaos.
Okay. Yeah, you've definitely got my attention. So how does AKM address this very human problem then?
Well, the beauty of AKM, or autonomous key management, is that it kind of takes humans out of the equation as much as possible.
Oh.
So instead of relying on this complex chain of certificates that can be compromised or expire or whatever, AKM, it manages its own security keys.
Okay.
And it's constantly generating new ones. Like it's always a step ahead.
So it's like it has like a built-in cybersecurity bodyguard that never sleeps or something.
That's actually a great way to put it, yeah.
Tell me more.
So every time a device connects using AKM, it's like starting with a fresh, clean slate. New credentials, new security, no baggage.
Wow.
And the projected market size for cybersecurity solutions, it's expected to reach somewhere between $50 to $60 billion by 2030.
Wow.
That just highlights how significant this problem is,
Right.
and how much money is pouring into finding more effective solutions. But it's not just about the money. New regulations like the EU Cyber Resilience Act, they're emerging. They're putting pressure on organizations to, really up their game when it comes to cybersecurity.
Right.
This isn't a passing trend. This is like a fundamental shift in how we approach security in a digitally connected world.
Okay, so the stakes are high, the need is urgent, AKM is like swooping in with this elegant solution, but how does it actually work? Like, how does it work? It's magic.
Let's break it down. AKM, it leverages the power of true randomness to generate its keys,
Okay.
making it incredibly difficult for hackers to, predict or exploit.
Right.
It's like trying to hit a moving target that's also constantly changing its appearance at the same time.
Okay, so AKM is like playing this never-ending game of cybersecurity keep away with the bad guys.
Yeah.
But is this constant key generation really that much better than what we have with PKI?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And this is where it gets like really interesting. See, PKI, for all its improvements, it's still stuck in this like reactive mode. They're always playing catch up. Every time a vulnerability pops up, they patch it, they add more complexity on top of an already complex system.
Which, as Bruce Schneier, like a leading voice in cybersecurity, points out, often just creates more points of failure.
Absolutely.
Our sources mention, he's a big advocate for simplicity and security, and AKM really seems to embody that.
100%. AKM isn't about just like layering on more and more defenses. It's about like simplifying the whole approach from the ground up, making it more robust just by like how it's designed.
Got it.
But there's another angle to this whole thing.
Right.
Do you remember that IE paper we talked about?
Right.
The one about all the cybersecurity incidents?
Yeah.
It also highlights this looming threat of, what's coming, right? Quantum computing.
Oh, right. Yeah, the quantum apocalypse, where all our encryption just gets blown to smithereens.
Well, it might not be quite that dramatic.
Right.
But quantum computing does pose a serious challenge to like traditional encryption methods, including PKI.
Right.
But AKM, with its, constantly shifting keys, the true randomness we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like trying to crack a combination lock, but the numbers are changing every time you like touch it. Even a quantum computer is going to have a tough time keeping up with that.
Wow. So AKM isn't just solving like today's problems. It's kind of future-proofing our digital lives too.
Exactly. And this is something that even institutions like NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, are taking very seriously, right?
Right.
They're actively pushing for new cybersecurity standards. They're recognizing that the methods that we've, relied on for so long, they might not cut it in a post-quantum world.
Right.
AKM's this proactive approach, it just aligns perfectly with that kind of like forward-thinking mindset.
Okay, I'm convinced. AKM sounds like it's miles ahead of the game here.
Yeah.
But, every superhero has their rivals, right?
Right.
What about the big dogs in the cybersecurity world? How does AKM stack up against the competition?
I mean, we're talking about some serious heavy hitters here.
Yeah.
IBM, Cisco, Fortinet. These guys have poured tons of resources into building their own cybersecurity empires.
Yeah, right.
And a lot of them, they still rely on PKI at their core.
So they're trying to win a race on a horse that's already, limping?
In a way, yeah. They're constantly patching, updating, trying to stay one step ahead.
Right.
But AKM's playing a different game entirely.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting. One of the key takeaways, at least from what I've seen, is that AKM isn't just about encryption.
Right.
It's also about authentication.
So it's not just about, locking the door. It's about making sure you're the only one with the key to that door.
Precisely. With AKM, every device, every user, they're constantly being verified, right?
Yeah.
It's like having a built-in bouncer at the door of your digital life.
Right.
Checking IDs, making sure that only the people who are supposed to be there are getting in.
I like that, yeah.
And the kicker is this constant integrity check, this continuous authentication.
Yeah.
That's something that, at least from what I can tell, none of AKM's competitors are really doing.
Oh, wow. Okay, so not only does it have this, elegant, self-updating security thing going on,
Right.
but it's also like the digital bouncer making sure only the right devices and users get in.
Exactly.
This sounds, almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
Is there a catch? What's the downside here?
Well, one of the sources we looked at had a pretty, kind of a bold statement about the whole state of cybersecurity these days.
Okay.
They basically said, and I quote, "Within the cybersecurity industry, it is a widely held belief that PKI is broken, remains broken, and will remain broken for the foreseeable future."
Oh, wow. They really went there.
Yeah,
That's a pretty bold statement.
it is.
But it does kind of highlight, we need a new approach. This is urgent.
Absolutely.
So is AKM the knight in shining armor here to save the day?
Potentially. It definitely has the potential.
Okay.
But you got to remember, the cybersecurity landscape is littered with solutions that sounded amazing on paper,
Right.
but totally failed to deliver in the real world.
Yep.
So whether AKM can, break through all that noise and actually get people to use it, that's the big question.
That's the million-dollar question, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not even just about, swapping out one system for another, right?
Right.
Our sources talked about AKM being used for way more than just, your typical computer network. Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We're talking, secure messaging, industrial control systems, even aerospace they mentioned.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about this, right? It's not just a one-trick pony. It could be a foundational technology, something that underpins a whole new generation of secure stuff.
Yeah.
Devices, systems, you name it.
Right.
imagine like a world where your messages are actually private,
Right.
where like critical infrastructure is basically impossible to hack,
Right.
where even the most complex systems are secure by default because of AKM.
Wow.
That's like the big dream, right? And
Yeah.
based on everything we've seen, it's a dream that could actually like happen.
Yeah.
This is exciting stuff.
And it sounds like the company behind AKM, they're thinking big too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They're not just like focusing on software or whatever.
Right.
They're developing hardware modules too.
Yeah, it's a smart move. They're tackling like the immediate need to secure all those legacy systems.
Right.
You know, the old stuff that's actually more vulnerable,
Right. Right.
which is like a lot of critical infrastructure runs on that stuff still.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they're also thinking ahead, right?
Right.
They're like building the tools so developers can bake AKM right into whatever they're building in the future.
Wow. So they're playing like a short game and a long game at the same time.
Exactly.
It's like they're setting themselves up to,
Yeah.
be the solution for everything's cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Like from my grandma's smart fridge to like, the Mars rover.
Maybe not that extreme, but yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah.
They've got big ambitions, and honestly,
Yeah.
in the world of cybersecurity, you kind of need that, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Thinking ahead.
This stuff changes so fast.
It does. It does. It's constantly evolving.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what's like the takeaway for our listeners today? I mean, is AKM it? Is this the be all end all solution to all our cybersecurity worries?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
It's still early days, right?
Right.
And I'm sure there are going to be bumps in the road.
Right.
But what we can say for sure is AKM is a really interesting new approach.
Okay.
It's like a real alternative to what we've been doing, which, let's be honest, hasn't been working that great.
Right. Yeah.
Its elegance, its focus on like keeping things simple but effective, its ability to like adapt and evolve.
Right.
These are all really, really good things.
Yeah, they sound like good things.
Those are the things that could make AKM a serious player in this space.
Absolutely.
I'm really curious to see where it goes from here.
And as we're all, trying to navigate this increasingly complex, crazy digital world, AKM is definitely something worth paying attention to.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
So if you're as fascinated by this whole AKM thing as we are, we encourage you to check out John Shields on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's great.
The creator of AKM, he's been in the cybersecurity game for a long time.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
He really does. He really does. And remember, in a world like drowning in data, facing all these new threats, constantly,
Well,
AKM's elegance and simplicity, that might be its superpower, right?
I think so, yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of AKM, cybersecurity's potential new sheriff in town.
Absolutely. This was fun.
Yeah, this was...
Cyber Explorer reminds their audience that opinions and content creation by the author are his own and do not reflect those of his employer.